Questions and answers with your host, Adrian Lee.
Oh, yes indeed, there are more questions than answers. Like sometimes you have to throw away perfectly good printer paper to hide all the candy wrappers in your trash can. What's your favourite candy? What would you want in your Christmas stocking, for your Easter chocolate, for a gift from Grandad when you were a little girl? Not Werther's Originals. My granddad, no bugger likes those. Terrible.
Heath bars.
Heath bars. What would you like, Morris? What's your favourite candy?
Lint milk chocolate balls.
Lint milk chocolate balls.
Sweaty balls.
She's going classy. She's gone for the high-end Swiss chocolate. I was expecting you to say a Kit Kat.
No.
I like Snickers, actually. I'm obsessed with... I was going to say nuts, which doesn't help, does it? But I like... There used to be a product in Britain called a Nutty Bar, and it was a bit like a Payday. I gave up eating Paydays when I read how many calories there were on the side. I could eat a Payday, or I could go and have a Big Mac meal. That was the kind of toss-up going through my mind. I have a few Twix left up my sleeves, though, if we're looking to hide candy wrappers. Just saying. Hi America, hello world, my name is Adrian Lee and I am your host. Welcome to the show, more questions than answers, the only paranormal quiz show anywhere in the world. Each week my guests and I will search the world's newspapers, websites and TV shows just for you, to bring you the very best in paranormal talk radio entertainment and enlightenment. We will then test each other's knowledge of the week's events, of the mysterious, strange, supernatural, unusual, bizarre, and just plain weird. If you have just tuned in especially to hear the show, then I admire your taste. If you have just tuned in by accident, then I admire your luck. We are huddled under our quilt with a large flashlight and a nice cup of tea with tonight's guests, somewhere in the cold, barren wildernesses of the Midwest Plains, with the sound of my elderly mother snoring distantly from the room next door. Each week, we press our ear against the bedroom wall. Whatever my mother listens to before she goes to bed picks and pulls on her unconscious mind. Let's have a listen tonight. Layla. Bit of Eric Clapton there for me, mother. She's listening to a bit of blues. Old Slow Hands himself. Bit of Eric Clapton. So snuggle under your covers, turn out your lights and hold on tight. The rules are very simple. Points will be awarded randomly for being interesting or for making me laugh or shiver in horror. Extra points will be available for shock and or value. To help me control my rowdy panel of recidivists and reprobates, I will employ what I have called the inappropriate bell. An example of this would be... That was a good one, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. The panel have no idea what's coming. I have no idea what stories.
No,
I have
you
no
don't.
clue. I have no idea. Why am I here?
We don't know.
I have no clue why I'm here. I just get wheeled out. I was a school teacher for 15 years back in Europe. I taught 11 to 18-year-olds. The shock on my students' faces when they saw me at the grocery store. I'm sure they thought all their teachers, like every school child, just get wheeled into the stock cupboard and then get wheeled out again the following morning. The shock and awe on students' faces because I'm buying 2 pork chops, a pineapple, and some tomato ketchup. Quite remarkable. I went to a market. There's a place called Dagenham Market. It sounds exactly like you would think it would sound. It's in East London. It's by the docks. Dagenham Market. I was an art teacher. So during the weekend and after school, I'm wearing an old pair of combat trousers, a T-shirt covered in paint. I've been painting all weekend. You know, I've been doing artwork. I've been stretching canvases and throwing acrylic and oil paints around. I've got me arse hanging out me trousers and half me dinner down me T-shirt. I was walking around the market and one of my 16-year-old students saw me, come running up to me to talk to me. I hadn't shaved for a long time either. Parents dragged her away, thought she was talking to a vagrant. They thought she was giving me £1 for a cup of tea. The look on their faces when they said, "That's Mr. Lee. He's my form teacher and head of the art department." You could see everything crumbling underneath where they realised how bad the education system was getting in Britain. Firstly, the mysterious and Heather Morris. She's been a paranormal investigator for many years with her own team called Hellhound Investigations and does all of her best work in the shadows. She is now one of the leading audio and DVP experts with the International Paranormal Society and brings her knowledge and research skills to tonight's show. She's also our producer and sound engineer. Heather wondered this week if Eric Clapton really thought she looked wonderful tonight, or if it was just the 27th outfit she'd tried. Dad's revving the car. He'd be in the driveway putting his foot down while my mum's trying to put some makeup on her face. Aww. This is true. Remember, it is better to arrive late than to arrive ugly.
Yes.
Very true. I also wish to introduce the mad and crazy Michelle Corrie. She was born and raised in Mqta, Minnesota, and has a keen and avid interest in all things paranormal. Michelle thinks the Discovery Channel should be on a different channel every day.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you.
I saw an old 1970s television show about two detectives who solved crime over the telephone. Starkey and Hash.
No.
I love this show. They're mad, they're bad, and they are paranormal. This is season 4, episode 25, I believe.
I think so.
Easy to lose track. We've got a piece of chalk and we're carving it on the walls as each one goes by. That means the more observant amongst you and those that keep track of such wonders, that we are now 2 episodes short of our 300th episode.
You said it wrong.
What did I say?
300th.
300th?
100.
300th. Is a Bobby Dazzler. Shannon! I swear to God, if he finds another Rusty now,
I know.
I am going to proper lose it. I am.
Oxshoe.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that Oxy's wore shoes. Who knew? Hobbling around in a pair of heels. What's the world coming to?
Gucci.
The Ox was asking for it, by the way. Look at the shoes it's wearing.
Oh.
Thought I'd share that with you. Where am I? What are we doing? We have a watch party. We are 2 episodes short of our 300th
100.
episode. So we've got next week, and then the following one will be the one we've been asking online, actually, on Facebook. We've been asking over the last 8-9 years, our 300th episodes, what your favourite parts are. We're thinking of putting together a greatest hits compilation where we actually talk over the top a little bit and introduce each section. So I will say something like, this next clip was very funny because Michelle was drunk and she fell off of her chair, and then we'll show the clip. So
No.
if you have any
No.
clips you want to see, if there's anything you want to hear, if there's anything you want me to talk about, because I could read out your letter or your notes on Facebook and say, you know, Gavin from Colchester, England, has said he wants to see the bit where I dance like someone's dad at a wedding.
Yeah.
And then we'd read that out. So
No one wants to see that.
those are my mother might, but those are the thoughts. That's what I was thinking of doing. So if you have any comments, anything you'd like to share, I'm lumbering towards the fact that we have a watch party. You can watch right now at this minute. It's very Buddhist, very existential. At this very moment, as you are viewing this on MCN6, you can go now to Facebook. More questions than answers with Adrian Lee. And there's people playing along. I'm about to jump into a quiz. You can play along at home. You can put your answers up. You can share gifts. You can share jokes. It's one big happy party all taking place right now on Facebook. More questions than answers. How many interactive television shows do you know that are in real time that we can actually participate on Facebook? This makes me very happy. This is a joy. What else have you got to do? We're in COVID restrictions. It's freezing cold. There's 9 inches of snow out there. You're snuggled up with a hot chocolate, a blanket, and your puppy.
Aw.
Get onto Facebook, play along at home, and make some friends.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun on there. So as always, with the O. Henry Martin-sponsored gong of infinite knowledge, I want to run my chocolate fingers through your aero and make my peanut brittle of facts, and let's go all the Milky Way of statistics.
Martin!
Thank you, Martin.
We don't often give Martin a shout out, but thank you for being a patron. Thank you for the gong, and thank you for everything you do. I hope you're safe up there in New York. We often think about you. Ready for your quiz? Points to go begging. Feeling enthusiastic, ladies?
No.
On this very day, in 1788, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Connecticut becomes the 5th state to ratify the Constitution. Been a very political couple of weeks in this country.
Yes.
So for the first time in the history of MQTA radio, I cannot believe that strange, bizarre and fascinating laws of Connecticut. Ever been to Connecticut?
I lived in Connecticut.
Did you really? Well, you should be winning this. Where did you live?
A little town called New Hartford.
Was it any good? Did you like
It's
it?
beautiful.
Would you go back?
Yes.
I couldn't even point to it on a map. That's on the East Coast, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm guessing if they ratified the Constitution in 1788, it's all the states along the East Coast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because nothing else was found at that point or known about. The territories. Ever been to Connecticut, Morris?
No.
You've not been out of Minnesota, have you?
No.
Sweetheart, one day we'll take you on an exciting adventure to Des Moines.
Oh.
If you're really lucky and you're well behaved and you have a good year, we could reach the hedonistic heights of Omaha.
Oh, it'll never happen.
Everything to play for. In Connecticut, a beautician or hairstylist cannot do this when working on a customer. If you do this while you're talking about your vacation, trimming your hair,
Chewing gum.
you are not allowed to chew gum in case it slithers down the side of your mouth, works its way down your
Or
t-shirt,
tobacco.
and ends up in her hair and glues her split ends together. You could be chewing gum, smoking a cigarette, working away with your scissors. You've lost the top of your ear before you know where you are. And then they have to cut the other top of the ear off so both sides match. That's the way to go.
Tobacco and gum.
Tobacco and gum.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the tobacco? Chewing it? Smoking it?
Both.
Sticking it up your nose?
Both.
So you are not allowed. If you were just chewing gum, that would be fine. Is that what you're saying? If you were just smoking, that would be fine. Chewing gum and smoking.
Can't do any of them.
You can't do anything. There's some strict laws in Connecticut. If you're a beautician, can you imagine how hamstrung you would be if you were a beautician and you couldn't chew gum? I mean, what would you have to do all day long? It'd drive you insane. You are spreading your chips liberally. You are going black and red. You are saying tobacco and gum.
Yeah.
That leaves Miss Corrie with a whole selection of things that you cannot do whilst working on a customer in Connecticut.
Drink alcohol.
Drinking alcohol. I want to go to this beautician's. I want to go and get my feet done. I've only ever had one pedicure in my life.
And it was fabulous.
Worst 30 minutes of my life. I have never been in so much pain.
You want black? You want white? You want hot pink?
Yes, the little Korean woman who had me in a headlock, was no bigger than 5 foot, had me like a farrier has a horse. Honest to God, that woman had some strength. I couldn't kick her off. There was one moment she got up and was laughing, and she went and walked into the kitchen and came back with a potato peeler. I've never been in so much pain.
How bad were your feet?
Terrible.
I didn't think they were that bad, but she said I could have climbed a tree with them.
Do you remember the scene in Dumb and Dumber where they bring out the grinder?
Grinder. I ended up only telling her my name, rank, and number, so that was a bonus. Honestly. Oh, you funny man. I'm in pain. Stop it. That hurts. Tears running down. Oh, you're a very funny man. This isn't funny. I'm in agony. What's wrong with you? You got utensils out of the kitchen. Oh, you'll make me laugh. Believe I couldn't walk for a week. Mr. God, terrible. What are we on? Kitchen utensils, smoking, gum, and drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are not allowed to hum, whistle, or sing. You can't hold a tune. If you're whistling, the tunes of Eric Clapton, I Shot the Sheriff, Sunshine of Your Love, you're in a lot of trouble. You're going to get caught by the humming police there in Connecticut. What if birds aren't singing but screaming because they're afraid of heights? These are the things that keep me awake at night. I don't get any sleep. These things worry me. A bird that's afraid of heights would be a terrible thing for that poor bird. I feel bad. Keeps me awake. Quick points going begging because I can't give them away any other way, but there will be points to be won. You can be stopped by the police in Connecticut for travelling at what speed on your bicycle. The nearest one will win the points, so we will be getting off the mark here. Someone will no longer be on a duck egg. The
3
police,
miles an hour.
wow. So if you're going over 3 miles an hour on a bicycle, you're going to get stopped. Under 3 miles an hour. So riding slowly. Riding slowly and driving slowly in general is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
There was a woman pulled over in Britain once, and it was foggy and icy, and there was snow everywhere, and she was belting down the motorway doing 70 miles an hour, and the police stopped her, and she thought that was the speed you had to go at. So she was driving at 70 miles an hour in terrible conditions because she said, well, I've got to go at 70.
Aww.
She thought that was the speed you had to go at and you had no choice. But having said that, they have minimum speeds, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
They exist on interstates, don't they, back in the day? I'm old enough to remember road signs on some motorways in Britain that had a horse and cart with a line through it, saying if you're riding a horse and cart or a horse, you cannot be on the motorway. Those signs have long since gone. You're saying 3 miles an hour.
Yep.
You have to ride, which is about average, decent pace walking.
Yep.
Any thoughts? Your choice. Well, you've not actually given me a speed, have you?
3 miles an hour.
3 miles an hour. Okay, you have everything above and everything under.
Above.
Brilliant. I'm guessing you're going to win some points, Michelle. Would you like to have a stab at what that might be?
15.
You're a long way off, but you will get the nice, I want to ride my bicycle, I want to ride my bike. I'm going to give you 3 points, just because Heather's answer was pretty ridiculous. You are not allowed to travel on a bicycle in Connecticut over 65 miles an hour. And I sat there and I thought to myself, hang on a second, how fast can you actually go on a bicycle? What's the average speed? You know, if you're just pottering along and you're cycling to get a newspaper or for leisure reasons, the average person, which is pretty much us, on a bicycle, on a street bike, not modified, you bought it off the rack in Walmart, can pretty much go full pelt at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. If you are a pro rider and you do it for a living and you've got legs like tree trunks and you've got a bicycle that has helium in the tyres and made of washing machine parts, you can get up to the hedonistic speeds of around 30 to 35 miles an hour, which made me wonder why the police are going to pull someone over on a bicycle for more than 65.
Downhill.
Well, you say that, but there's only ever been, because I did more research, I'm obsessed with research and history. Only 2 people in the history of mankind have gone faster than 65 miles an hour on a bicycle. And yes, if you're on a bicycle and someone kicks you out of an aeroplane, I bet you're reaching some dizzy heights and dizzy speeds. But it's not going to happen. It makes me think those 2 people that went over that speed were actually in Connecticut. What a bizarre... I'm guessing the police aren't pulling over many bicycles, are they, at that point? I refuse to wear a helmet, by the way, when I'm cycling, to be a beacon of hope for all of those in need of new organs. See, I'm philanthropic. I think of my fellow man. Here's one for you, Maurice. You're going to get yourself some points. A pickle, because I know you're obsessed with pickles.
Pickles!
A pickle can only be officially recognised as a pickle in Connecticut if it is what?
Over 3 inches.
So you need a bigger pickle than 3 inch. What is it with threes today?
I love it.
Reading War of the Worlds by
Yeah.
H.G. Wells. Everything was in threes, wasn't there? They had 3 legs and there was 3 aliens in each one.
Over 3 inches or it's a gherkin.
Anything more than 3 inches is a gherkin.
No.
Under.
Really?
Under 3 inches is a gherkin.
Do you think there's someone in a factory somewhere who's watching them go by on a conveyor belt and he's got a ruler and he's measuring them?
He's a sizer.
Yeah, I want a pickle sizer.
He's got calipers.
And
Pickle
Some sort of-
Thing
squisher.
with round things
A
in
thing
it.
with round things. Can you be more specific? You mean
Hole in a fence
you mean a
that
ball
pushes
with a
through
hole
it
in
to
it?
gherkin.
I'm sorry, officer. I was just pushing my gherkin through the hole in the fence.
That's
going
what I
to
meant.
stand up in a court of law. What if the person who was in charge of that decided to go on and have a sneaky cigarette or, read the newspaper? Would he be shirking his gherkin at that point?
It's a
Love.
Lucy and Edith situation.
Yeah,
So-
with the bonbons.
Okay, well, we'll be reading resumes shortly for gherkin measurers all around the country and in Connecticut. You're suggesting that a pickle is only a pickle in Connecticut if it's more than 3 inches.
Yes.
Anything less and you're not interested.
Then it's a gherkin.
It's a gherkin. You're
Yeah.
shirking your gherkin. Michelle, what does that leave?
It leaves.
Why would it not be a gherkin or a pickle?
You have to put it in brine.
It has to be pickled in vinegar. It has to bounce. A pickle in Connecticut has to bounce. They have official pickle bouncers. I don't listen. I don't. What are you doing? Bouncing a pickle?
No.
You're looking for your drink?
Yes.
It's on the table in front of you,
Thank
sweetheart.
you.
Yeah, I'm good to you. How's that red wine going down?
Thank you, Lisa and John.
Thank
That
you.
did come from Lisa and John. It has to bounce. I didn't know pickles bounced. Could you bounce a pickle? I mean, what are
Can
we-
you bounce a pickle?
Well, given a run up and a concrete floor, I've been with a chance. I mean,
I
it's
think we found a new game.
bounce the
Yeah.
pickle. We'll turn all the lights out. We'll have a game of bounce the pickle.
Follow the bouncing pickle.
We'll see when we can get arrested for that in Connecticut. By the way, the saying "being in a pickle" was invented by Shakespeare. Shakespeare invented that term. I'm in a pickle.
Oh.
It didn't exist until Shakespeare came along. That's one of his terms and one of his phrases. So if you say at any point, "I'm in a bit of a pickle," you are quoting Shakespeare. You leave this show with more than you arrive with. It's a benefit to be paying attention, isn't it? Silly string is banned in Connecticut. I just need you to tell me why.
Flammable.
Silly string is flammable. Have you seen those shows on the TV where people send in their videos and there's some old dear at a wedding who falls down and you see her drawers? I mean, it's the same old stuff over and over again. Silly string, I know from watching these shows, is flammable. When they do that on someone and there's a Christmas cake or a birthday cake or any kind of... The whole thing goes up like an inferno, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you're toasting your marshmallows in someone's birthday hair.
Yeah.
You are saying it's banned in Connecticut because it's flammable.
Yep.
Any thoughts, Michelle Corrie?
Because they can't get the chemicals to make it anymore.
Wow, wouldn't that be fabulous? I will tell you you're both wrong. Any other stabs? It was an incident that caused this. There was a incident with silly string in Connecticut.
Because someone mistook it for spray cheese.
And in the meantime, someone's having a really rough birthday party where they're getting covered in cheese. Wow. I mixed up my tortoise with a meat pie once. I only discovered that when the microwave pinged. But that was a problem. I did have an issue with that. You are suggesting it got mistaken for a can. Only in America, by the way, can you have cheese in a can. And it's sprayable. Let me tell you right now, that does not happen in Europe.
Hey,
I'll tell you that straight
The
now.
first time I ever had cheese in a can, I thought I made it.
Really?
Because I could never afford
made
it.
That's
finally-
a measure of wealth.
I finally made it.
I realised I finally made it when I'd have to take the 2 plies of toilet paper apart.
Got the squeeze cheese.
Wow, you're reaching the dizzying heights of being very wealthy at
I
that
know.
point. I'm going to have to tell you, in the mid-90s, imagine the scene. You've got Vanilla Ice. Everyone's wearing linen and cotton. They've got grunge going on. In the mid-90s, a group of children sprayed police with silly string at the Apple Harvest Festival. And they didn't have anything to charge them with. They didn't like being covered in silly string. This was the famous Harvest Festival Silly String Massacre in Connecticut of 1994. You may be familiar with that if you're a person of the law. And the police got covered in this by kids, and they then went ahead and banned it. There's no fun to be had in Connecticut. It's all about bouncing pickles and not being able to hum during graduated Bob. Wow. I have a can of serious string. If anyone wants to break that open, I'm happy to discharge my serious string if anyone feels the need for that. So be prepared. Wow, 3 points to Michelle. No one else has scored any points yet. Very disappointing, but you had, of course, lived in Connecticut.
I have.
It's a happy birthday today. I'm wishing a happy birthday to American horror filmmaker John Carpenter. He was born on this very day in 1948 and is, how old is he, would you think? Well, you could do the maths, couldn't you? He's 73. Yeah. Happy birthday, John Carpenter, born today, is 73. Famous, of course, for being the director and the writer for Halloween. Fantastic original Halloween film, of course, horror film. Do you like John Carpenter?
Sure.
You've no clue what I'm talking about, have you?
What?
Exactly. The Fog. Do you remember The Fog?
Very good, Kurt Russell.
The Thing.
Excellent.
A friend of mine, Les Edwards, who lives in Brighton, used to live in London. He actually did the original illustrations for the film poster for The Thing.
Wow.
And he did one of the first Metallica albums as well. He's a good friend to know. You may know his work, Les Edwards, because he did all the Conan the Barbarian stuff.
Wow.
He does lots of artwork and painting. You can look him up. Les Edwards. You can look him up. I went to his house once and I went into his studio and it looked like something from a medical student because he had all these plate photographs of muscles, you know, dissected, and medical books, because he did all of the strong barbarian kind of Conan with the sword and the woman with the huge chest. If you've ever played the board game Dungeon Master, he painted the guy on there holding the sword. You will know his work. I have no idea where I'm going with this. Christine, do you remember that film?
Yes.
Christine. Village of the Damned. Escape from New York, and many, many others. So, or in other words, this is a quiz called What Would JC Do? See what I've done there?
Yeah.
So for the first time in the history of MQTA Radio, I cannot believe that strange, bizarre and fascinating facts about the films of JC. What would JC do? Ironically, his last name's Carpenter. And of course, the original JC was in fact a carpenter. You see how all this works. What was interesting about the actors' costumes in the Halloween films? Do you remember the first one? Jamie Lee Curtis, her first major film role, I believe that was.
They wore their own clothes.
They wore their own clothes.
Yep.
They turned up wearing what they were wearing and they got on film.
Yep.
That's a cheap production, madam.
Yes, it is.
Any thoughts, anything you'd like to share about the costumes that were worn in the first Halloween film?
They're all from the thrift shop.
They're all from the thrift shop. Miss Morris is 100% correct.
Yes.
They were their own clothes. They had to provide their own clothes. Jamie Lee Curtis went on to say that she put her outfit together at JCPenney's for under $100.
Sweet.
I will give Miss Morris
Thank you.
2. That's a smashing blouse you're wearing.
Oh, God.
Points. It is now 3-2. What time-consuming job did the production designer have to do in the street during the filming of Halloween? This was an awful job. The production designer had to do this on the streets during the filming.
He had to sweep
of
it.
Halloween. He had to sweep the streets. Why did he have to sweep them?
Because it was doity.
It was doity. It was murder.
It was a different time of year. And so he had to either sweep it, depending on the type of year it was, or add leaves.
I love the way you give me an answer and then during your explanation you provide 3 other answers.
Yeah.
It's very sneaky. You're definitely a Scorpio sat over there, aren't you?
Yes.
Look at you, working in the darkness like a little scorpion. If you look at the Moon Tarot card, there's a little scorpion sat there looking up at the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, what terrible job. What absolute mind-numbing vocation did the production designer have to do in the streets during the filming of Halloween?
Pick up dog poo.
Pick up a dog poo. I'm going to give Morris some points. It was filmed in the spring, but it was meant to be set at Halloween. So what he actually had to do, they provided bags and bags and bags of plastic leaves, and he had to paint them. He painted every single leaf in oranges, reds, and browns for fall, and then sprinkle all the leaves everywhere. So his job was to paint sacks of fake leaves in full colours. And Miss Morris was halfway there because it was filmed at a different time of the year to what it was being portrayed. I've fallen and I can't get up. If you're a leaf and fall is coming, you may want to invest in a medical alarm. Now, how many different cars were used in the filming of Christine? And I will give the points away because someone will be the closest. I will give 5 points away right now. My generosity knows no bounds. If you can tell me what that car actually was. What was Christine?
1955 Chevy Bel Air?
Ooh, no. Would you like to have another guess?
It was 57.
It was 58, but I'm interested in the make now. So it was a 1958 what?
Cadillac.
Any thoughts?
Chevy?
Nope.
Impaler.
No. Am I going to have to give this to you? It was a 1958 Plymouth Fury.
Oh, of course it was.
So how many did they use whilst filming? They had just one single car during the filming of Christine.
Yep.
Your choice is to go higher or lower. Would you like to go lower than one?
No.
They used no cars in the filming of the only horror film that has a car predominantly in it throughout the whole thing.
3.
They used 17
holy joke
complete cars made from 24 different models.
Ooh.
And they had like a perfect car that had nothing wrong with it, was spotless. They had a car that could do high speeds. There was another car for interiors. There was a car that was reinforced. They kind of had a car for every occasion. Can you imagine now if outside this studio we had 17 1958 Plymouth Furies? That would be a joy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Makes me very happy. So I will give some points to Michelle. You are now up to, I can't believe you're revving. I've still got 10 minutes to get ready. 5. There. I was asked, and I saved a bunch of money on car insurance by driving Christine. You couldn't you? Save money on car insurance by driving Christine. She makes herself up again, doesn't she, at the end?
Yeah, she does.
After she gets crushed. That's the first self-driving car, is it not?
I think so.
I actually read an article about how they managed to film that the car was crushed and it slowly made itself, back to whole again. Obviously, they reversed the filming, but it was very interesting what they did to make that happen. I actually prefer the good old days when they had to use some brain power rather than just CGI to make stuff happen, right? And they actually had to think about what they were doing and come up with innovative ways. I almost prefer that, and I think we miss that to a certain degree. Why was jazz music used in the 1980 film The Fog, especially in the radio station scenes? If you remember, they were in a radio station, but it was a jazz radio station. I just need you to tell me why. Do you like jazz?
Some.
Go on, then name
Miles
some.
Davis.
Yes, that is a good place to be. There. Burbeck. There is some decent jazz out there. That is 100% true. Why?
Because the singer was in the movie.
The jazz singer. Bit of Neil Diamond there. I used to have to try and go to sleep on a Sunday morning, having had a hard night out in London on a Saturday night, and my mother would be playing the jazz singer at 6 o'clock in the morning whilst I'm trying to get some sleep. There's me. I've only had an hour in bed. I've still got my clothes on. There's dribble on the pillow. And my mother suddenly fires up, "They coming to America."
Oh, God.
So I'm trying to get some sleep.
Shoot me now.
I've got the pillow over my head and it's "Love on the Rocks, ain't no big surprise." For the love of... That's my mother. Sunday morning. Lovely. Any thoughts? Anything you'd like to add? Why did they play jazz? And there's a really simple reason for this, and I can't believe you wouldn't get it. Because we've stumbled across this in our own recordings.
It's the only thing they had.
I'd like a little bit more. I'm not going to be that generous with the points. Why would they choose jazz to play in the background of a film over anything else?
It's the only thing they had rights to.
There you go.
It was cheap.
I will give you a couple of points each. They didn't have to pay for it. If they wanted to use pop music and rock music, they were going to have to pay for the licensing and the copyrights, and jazz didn't have the same expense. Michelle's now up to 7. Heather is now up to a 6, and everything is to play
For crying.
There's always too much sax and violins in a John Carpenter film. Amen. They're mad, they're bad, they're paranormal. That was them, but this is now as we enter our favourite part of the show. It's the mailbag.
Love it.
Give me the mail.
We love the mailbag. If you wish to write to us, and there's been precious few people writing to us in the last couple of weeks, I don't know whether it's just been Christmas or whether everyone's fed up with the cold, politics, everything that's going on in the world. Send me a message. Tell me how much or what you like about the show, and we will read that out. I have got a couple to read, and I've got some Christmas cards that I need to read out as well that came from Australia and various other places, but I'm going to save that till next week. Lisa has posted.
Hi, Lisa.
Good friend and Patreon of the show. Thanks for the fun old school version. Last week we actually did a radio version of the show, which we did at the beginning. Of course, we were originally a radio show, and you can still access all the audio and listen to this as a radio show. Thanks for the fun old school version. The chairs seem to be getting dangerous in the studio. I think I went down to look at some notes, and my chair, this is a concrete floor. I have a chair with wheels on it. Anything that kind of takes my centre of gravity away from that place, and I'm off.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there were some libations involved in your accident because you went to sit down and the chair wasn't actually there, was it, if we recall? We've got it on film. We don't need to debate this. We can just go and look.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. She says we need to start gluing the chairs to the floor. Some sort of Velcro might be the way to go. If we had Velcro on the chairs, every time I moved, it'd be like... That's what would happen. Velcro. Love the show, she says. Deanna, again, fantastic follower.
Diana.
Has added, thank you for the nostalgic night tonight. Tonight's show reminded me of the good old days when we listened. You'd think we'd been around for 25 years, wouldn't we? Do you remember when we used to do this in black and white? I convinced my grandmother once that the world was black and white when she was a child, and after about 20 minutes she believed me. I'm not happy with myself. She says I never call. I'd go round there, she'd think I was the TV man, and then say to me, but you never come round. She thought I was the window cleaner once, couldn't convince her otherwise. I ended up wiping her windows with an old rag, charging her $10, and everyone was happy. Genuinely took place. Reminded me of the good old days when we listened on a Friday night. I love the TV show, but tonight was the perfect night for the radio show, in my opinion. I want to wish you all a happy new year, and I can't wait to see where this year takes the show. She's actually written that on prison paper.
Yes.
It's quite interesting. I don't know what she's had to do to get hold of that. Miss Morris, would you like to explain to our aesthetically pleasing and beautifully turned out listeners how they can access the show and on what platforms they can find it on?
You can find the platforms that we're on SoundCloud and iTunes and TuneIn and Matchbox 20 and Castbox and Caterpillar Radio.
This is what happens
and Skin Tag Radio.
when I let someone else have a go, because she's just making stuff up. You can find us. We're on every platform. We go out on MCN6 every 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. You can find us on Roku if you search for MCN6. You can go to www.mcn6 and screen us on any device anywhere in the world. We have 270,000 listens in 190 countries all over the world. You can find us on SoundCloud if you go to Mqta Radio. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and we stay in the studio at the top of the hour and do an extra 20 to 25 minutes of filth. Stuff we can't read out on television.
It's naughty.
When we're looking for the stories of the bizarre, the strange, and the supernatural from around the world, we find stuff. We stumble across
You say
themes.
accident.
Well, I'm an English gentleman, and there's no need for my standards to drop just because I'm here. Whereas you've never left Tribon. So,
Yeah.
under those circumstances, she thought there was actually horses in horseradish. This is where we are.
Oh, boy.
So, you can find us on all of those platforms. Go looking for us. You can listen to the radio show. Still, we're doing this on audio. You can hear this in the car in the gym, walking the dog. I've no idea where you're allowed to go these days. Are you allowed to go to the gym? Can we go to the
I
park?
think you can right now.
I think the dogs can go to the gym.
But we
Yeah.
can't.
Dog gym.
Dog gym. I like the idea of a dog walking and he's got like a video of a cat walking, you know. Terrible. We want nice fit dogs, don't we? This is where we are. If you'd like to donate to the show, we would appreciate that. You can go to Patreon, search for MQTA Radio. For $1, $1, you can find us on Patreon and you can access shows that have never been aired. There's radio plays. There's lots of fun things. We are going to do a greatest hits and we're going to put it to start with on Patreon. We have so many stories. If I give you an idea, look, there's stories that I've never read out. We are going to sit in the studio for a day and just work our way through these. Yes, we are. Well, I'll sit here on my own.
Send alcohol.
But we're going to read all these out, every single one of them. If you look in front of... I'm sure Michelle has got a stack of papers there. I bet Heather, put your hand on all the stories you've never read out and show them.
They're over there in a pile.
Oh.
We're surrounded. It's like an episode of Hoarders. I'm surrounded by paperwork and Corrie and Morris have been storing their stale wee-wee in buckets. So we have everything there.
What? Jeez.
I have books out. If you wish to access my books, you can do so. My latest book, Ghosts of the US Dakota War, 1862, got to #1 in the new releases chart on Amazon. Go and look those up. Mysterious Midwest, Mysterious Minnesota. You can look up my books. If you're interested in ghosts, hauntings and history, you will like those. Would you like to discuss what we do on a Tuesday and then we'll crack on with the stories, Morris?
We drink on Tuesday.
Yep,
You might. I have a cup of tea
I do.
and a cheese sandwich.
Michelle and I get together on Facebook,
Huh?
and Michelle's brother.
Yep. And
Mike.
Mikey.
And at 8 o'clock at night, we all tune into the History Channel, and we watch Oak Island. And on Facebook at More Questions and Answers with Adrian Lee, we meet up and we have gift wars and we drink a lot of alcohol.
Yes.
We've missed a couple. I've missed a few because I've been recording in Minneapolis and various other places. But we try and we run there as well. We interact with everybody. It's a lot of fun. 400, 500, 600 comments an evening.
We're probably the only reason they're still on.
I would
Yeah.
almost guarantee that to be true. They wouldn't be on otherwise, would they, with their coconut fibre?
I don't know if we can save them.
I like the way they find a Chinese coin and they're talking about the Knights Templar, so it's now the Templars. That's what we're doing. This is very true. Well, let's move into the round that is ghosts and hauntings. And remember, we don't do orbs. Michelle's on 7. I'm yet to score. Heather is on 6. I've got a story here about a cat and a psychic. I thought I'd read this for you. Holly Willoughby was left horrified when her cat was sick on the floor after having its mind read. What could you possibly get from a cat, do you think?
Nothing.
Hang on, your cat's coming through. He says he wants to see me again next week. That's $100. I'll be back. The cat likes me. He wants me to see him again. Bluebell's paws were examined in a bizarre feature on This Morning, where animal whisperer Jessica Adams claimed to reveal pet secrets through thoughts.
Yeah.
Thoughts? What thoughts is a cat having? Is like dinner, squirrels and bed. Dinner, squirrels, bed. Dinner, squirrels, bed. Holly, 39, was astonished when the Tasmanian cat psychic claimed her beloved pet believed she was her mum. What animals don't think that you're their mum and dad? I've got a little pug and I'm 100% convinced that pug thinks I'm its dad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what pets do, isn't it? They think you're mum and dad. Do they not? Especially if you have them from young. Jessica studied Bluebell's paws. I'm going to read your paws. You're going to meet a tall, dark stranger. Be lucky with money and look out for the number 8. She told an astonished Holly she actually thinks she's your daughter. I wouldn't say that was a huge stretch.
God.
She also thinks that all the flowers that come are for her. And she also thinks the prizes and the awards are also hers, so she's a bit confused.
Yeah, me too.
Holly replied, "That's amazing. Do you know, she always eats the flowers when they come in."
Every cat does.
Yes,
Yep.
I lost a cactus recently due to my cat. They're chewing plants constantly. Unbelievable. When she returned home to her London flat, Holly was welcomed to the sight of vomit smeared all over the floor. From eating the flowers, no less.
Yeah.
She filmed the mess saying, "I'm not sure someone is very happy with me talking about them on the telly this morning." Jessica studied several different paws and claws today, telling one flabbergasted viewer, that's a very underused word, isn't it?
Yes.
Flabbergasted. My ghast was thoroughly flabbered. She said her cat was deeply American in personality. What does that mean? If you say your cat's deeply American in personality, it's got like an Hawaiian shirt and eating with its fingers.
Well, you see here, Jim Bob,
Right.
that was an American cat.
That's an American cat. Y'all, were you trick-or-treating? Y'all, and your
Yep.
Mountain Dew.
Yep.
However, not everyone was buying the idea of cat reading, with one viewer tweeting, "The cat lady is thinking, can you believe I am actually getting away with this shizzle?" Another joked that they tried looking at their cat's paws and they're now recovering in hospital. And that's why we love cats. Pet claw fun or fetch me a gun? You decide. Go to my Facebook site, More Questions and Answers with Adrian Lee, and you can see the pet cat mind reading psychic for yourself. What could you get from a cat's paws, do you think? I mean, you
Cat
could
litter?
Cat litter.
Stuck.
Bits of dead mice.
Gross.
Lots to think about and consider. You leave this show with more than you arrive with. Morris, what have you
Yeah.
got for me in the round of ghosts and hauntings?
I'm not doing it.
You're going to do strange and bizarre, cryptozoology, UFOs.
Cryptozoology.
Oh,
Oh.
thank you, Jesus.
It's going to be a Bigfoot story.
A photograph of an alleged Bigfoot. Yes, Bigfoot.
Well, the first one of the year. Look at that.
Yes.
Who bought you that? Was it Martin or Heater?
I don't
Where did
know.
you get that? That sounds like my stomach after I've been in the all-you-can-eat. I'm stumbling out of the casino buffet. Yep, I've decided I'm actually going to mix my meats up. I've gone with the chicken. I've had a bit of beef and steak. I then had a pork chop.
And some shrimp.
I then went with the catfish. I've had shrimp. I've mixed all the
Right
proteins
things.
up. I've got the worst case of buffet bum anyone's ever seen. I'm stumbling out of the casino with that noise rumbling around in my guts like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Yeah, that's me in the car park right there. Saying to anyone who wants to listen, why did you not stop me? Why didn't I just focus on one type of meat? You never learn, do you? God, buffet bum. Now.
Well, a photograph of an alleged Bigfoot-like creature that was spotted in the forest has been doing the rounds online. Bigfoot legends can be found all across the world, and Singapore, which is said to be the home of the elusive,
Here we are.
Bukit Timah Monkey Man,
Okay, good
or
job.
BTMN for short,
You're going to go with BTMN from now on.
BTMN.
is no exception.
Monkey Man.
Monkey
Monkey
Man,
Man.
believed to wander the forested Bukit Timah region.
I've had people work on my house that could be described as monkey men. I mean, there's been a few. I went to the zoo once with my parents. We roll up at the zoo. You know, you look through the glass and you sort of try and imitate and all this business. And then you think, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we need 2 adults and 2 children. My apologies. Very embarrassing.
Well, this
Yeah.
tall bipedal humanid,
Hominid. Go on.
yeah, whatever, has been sighted several times over the last few years, and now it's even been captured on camera. The image, which shows the dark outline of a gorilla-like creature, was taken by Elfie of the Night Raiders, a group that explores the locations around Singapore under the cover of darkness. This year, one of our equipment
This is
specialists,
Singapore, is it?
Elfie,
Was that North Singapore or South Singapore? I'm getting
he
confused.
followed a group for a mission and also to test his paranormal equipment in this particular jungle. During that particular night, they witnessed BTMM, and our specialist managed to capture it in split seconds only. He said the BTMM this time, he really huge, big. BTMM is another type of mystery creature called a Bigfoot.
We're going to get taken off air.
Some people says it's a folklore. Some say it's a jinn.
Gin.
Yes.
Not alcoholic gin.
No.
Jinn.
That's a Muslim.
Evil spirit.
Yes.
Big.
For the Muslim faith, I
Huge.
believe. Yes, large.
Ginormous.
You wouldn't want to mess with one.
But is this really
My mum
evidence?
had a double gin.
Oh my God.
Don't tell her.
But is this
She'll be
really
unhappy.
evidence of an unknown creature? Or is there a more conventional explanation? Like it's bunk.
Yes. Oh, you've bunked your own story. You've fallen on your sword. What are you doing, madam?
I know.
This is outrageous.
I needed a drink.
I will give you a couple of points for being fun and informative, and you're up to a rather splendid bottom-heavy Monkey Man 8. I've had this story. I've been sitting on this story for some time now.
Is it warm?
It is warm. It makes
Did it
me very
hurt?
happy. It's got nothing to do with ghosts and hauntings.
Oh, boy.
I guess we could squeeze it into the strange and the bizarre category. Kids were left in hysterics as a monster fart interrupted their Zoom class.
Oh, God.
But it was just their teacher playing a prank. What's a monster fart, by the way?
That's a likely story.
monster
A big,
fart creeps through
massive
dark
one.
corridors and grabs you by the throat.
I bet
Have you ever had
she
a monster
did
fart that's grabbed you by the throat in a corridor?
from someone else in the studio.
Emma Jinder in the studio. Oh, Emma Jinder, a third-grade teacher at an elementary school in Topeka, Kansas, spread cheer in her virtual classroom by playing a fart noise.
Uh-huh.
Footage of the hilarious incident was shared to Twitter on Sunday morning and has since received more than 6.8 million views. Alongside the video, the tweet read, "A huge fart during a kids' class Zoom, and the whole class and teacher finding it hilarious is the joy we all needed." Kids laughing makes me laugh.
Yes.
Those children were in hysterics, and it made me laugh. It's worth the look just to see the kids' reaction. Seconds after Jinder unleashed the fake fart, she giggled, put her hand over her face, rolled her chair back away from the computer. She pretended to act embarrassed and turned away, causing her young students to realise what had happened.
She really did fart. I bet you anything.
The unexpected... I thought women just sighed in their panties. Am I
Yes.
wrong?
Mm-hmm.
The unexpected noise prompted a few smiling children to ask, "What was that?" "I'll show you." Another even exclaimed, "That was a big one." That was very funny.
Said good push.
The teacher then returned up close to the camera and insisted, "I don't know who that was." The adorable sea of laughter went on for more than 20 seconds. Jinder then chimed in and said, "I don't know who it was, but whoever it was might be a little embarrassed, so let's stop. I still blame you," one young boy said afterwards. Wow. It's not normally a good policy to wind up your kids in a frenzy just before you start a lesson. As a teacher of 15 years experience, you might want to have done that at the end rather
I'm
than the beginning.
Thinking she really did fart.
There you go. Not a good start, or who did the fart? I will tell you, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, what grade would that be in this country, do you think? I don't know how all these systems work.
First or second
7
grade?
or 8. I had a teacher, her name was Miss Moffat. It was the mid to late 70s. She wore a nice Laura Ashley dress with little flowers on it. Looked very prim, very proper. Probably her first teaching job, I would think. At the end of the day, there was a couple of minutes left, and we were reading Charlotte's Web.
Oh.
Fantastic children's story about a pig and a spider. So every day for a couple of minutes, she would read to the whole class before the bell goes and everyone can leave. We're sat there in stony silence. You could hear a pin drop. She's reading from Charlotte's Web. I'm feeling the first beginnings of a movement coming along. I can't hold it in. I'm thinking if I let it out slowly, it won't make any noise. I'll get away with it. I'll let it out, like a balloon. Like, do you know your sphincter's a muscle and it claps together like this, right? So normally you're going, but I'm thinking I'll just,
Relax.
relax into it. Anyway, what I didn't realise was that would prolong the process. That would make it a longer process. I was on an old school chair. It had a wooden seat and the rivets were broken. So when I sat down, it's slapping about. I swear to God, that lasted 30 seconds and was the loudest fart you've ever heard, and the chair's going like this in the wind. And she just stopped reading. I'll do an impression. She peered over her glasses like this. And of course I'm now looking around the room, right? I'm like,
Of course.
looking around. This story does not end there.
Oh, God.
We're in second grade. When I was about 20 years old, we had a school reunion. One of the guys I hadn't seen for such a long time, his name was Chris. I said, what was the highlight of being in elementary school? And he said, one day we were reading a story and some kid farted and it lasted a minute. And I said, that was me. He bought me a pint. His highlight of being at school was me farting. And he didn't know it was me. I introduced him like I was the Phantom.
Oh, my
like
God.
I'm taking my glasses off and I'm Christopher Reeve. It was me. What are you doing, Morris?
I have a story. I have something to top that. I've actually got on a recorder someone who has farted longer than that and louder than that.
We do seem to be very heavy in the gas department on this show, don't we?
I don't know who that was.
We were investigating, as the International Paranormal Society, as a team, we were investigating the Wyndham Theatre. The Palace Theatre in Wyndham is the oldest theatre in the whole of Minnesota that still shows films. They were showing films there in 1914 on a sheet with fold-up chairs, and it is still showing films today. That is remarkable, isn't it?
It is.
We were doing a walkthrough and we were running a DVR to record any ghostly sounds on the DVR, and we were in the bunker, and of course below there's a concrete bunker where they'd put the coal in to keep the heating running and the open arc lighting for back in the day. And I reached up, there was some EMF activity with some pipe work, and I reached up to grab some pipes, and yes, the beast was released, and we have it recorded, so if anyone wants to listen to that, for the benefit of the DVR, that was Miss Morris dropping her guts. Can you believe?
Good Lord.
We are almost out of time. You're going to have to save your story. We're going to have to add that to next week's collection. I said we had a big pile of stories going
More piles.
on. Unbelievable. I'm so far behind in what I'm doing here. I have no clue what's happening.
I don't know what's happening.
Oh, yes, indeed. There are more questions than answers. Well, all good things come to an end.
And they do.
So let's look at tonight's scores. In last place with the K2 meter and the dead battery is me. I scored 2. I get a buffet bum and a bouquet full of chewed flowers.
Great.
That's going to make me happy, just like last year's Valentine's Day for me in many respects. In second place tonight is Michelle Corrie. You not reading out a story has put you in second place. You now have...
You win.
7 points. You get 2 tickets to the zoo and a fart machine.
Okay.
That means winning the $33,000 IR camera tonight is Heather.
That was me.
Morris. She's up to a rather magnificent 8. She gets a double gin and a bedtime story.
Good.
Charlotte's Web.
Oh.
With
Perfect.
accompanying sounds, so everybody's happy. Do not fear, listener. Remember, we are back with a whole new bunch of stories next week at the same time. I would love for you to join me for a fun and informative journey through the world of the paranormal, strange, intriguing, bizarre, and weird. Please tell your friends and family about the show, and feel free to contact us anytime on our Facebook site. More questions and answers with Adrian Lee. You can also join my Twitter account at Adrian_Lee_tips. We have 90,000 followers on there. My gratitude and greatest thanks are extended to Lorna Hunter, Heather Morris, Jeton Drainer, Michelle Corrie, and all at the International Paranormal Society in paranormal.net, and all of the show's sponsors, including the Lakes Area Paranormal Interest Group and MUFON of Minnesota. It just remains for me to say thank you for listening, and remember, be interested and interesting. Good night.